The Colorado Buffaloes seem well on their way to playoff contention, but what have been the three biggest surprises? I'm going to tell you what surprised me the most this season about Colorado.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode, this Halloween episode, is brought to you by FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Before we start, make sure to comment your favorite Halloween movie down below. I feel like I got to go with the classic, A Hocus Pocus. I'm a little bit on the younger side. I also like a good Halloween Town. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember loving that movie growing up. But Hocus Pocus has got to be up there for me. Let's dive into the three biggest surprises. I think these three things have been the biggest treats, if you will, for Colorado this season. Because obviously it's the bye week, so there's no one to preview just yet. So I figured we should go over what's been better, right? And I look at the three biggest aspects to me that have stood out, and I call them pleasant surprises, not because I had my doubts in them. A couple of these things I just wasn't expecting them to be as good as they were, or I just wasn't expecting the coaching staff to make these sort of decisions. So starting with Robert Livingston's defense, Colorado is giving up 12 less points per game this season compared to last season. Their defense ranks 66th in the country in total defense compared to being really far down the list last year. They're 36th in the country in turnovers forced, and they've only allowed one double-digit score or one double-digit second half, meaning only one game has a team scored more than 9 points against them, which it happened to be Kansas State, which is one of their lone losses. I thought it was really impressive how they played against Nebraska in the second half, and I think the defense has really set the tone in the second half for Colorado because regardless of the score, you know that Robert Livingston is going to make adjustments, and you know his adjustments are going to work. And so this defense sort of getting to the quarterback, getting pressure on the quarterback, even if they don't get to him. They've really started to actually bring the quarterback down within the past couple of weeks, but they're getting pressure on him regardless, stopping the run. We've seen them take down the number one rushing team in the country in UCF, and then we saw them compete against the Kansas State team. So they've done really well against the run, and they've done a lot of, I would say, they've had a lot of impressive performances. If you look at their last, they beat Arizona on the road by double digits. They beat UCF on the road by double digits, Colorado State on the road by double digits. Like, they go into these hostile environments where the offenses should have all the advantage. And Colorado is, in large part this season, succeeding because of their defense. Now, the offense, obviously, they deserve a lot of credit as well. But the defense, I think, deserves some major credit. And Robert Livingston, I don't know how long he's going to be in Boulder because I'm pretty sure he's going to get a head coaching opportunity. Maybe not after this year, but if he continues at this trajectory, he will get a head coaching opportunity eventually. The second pleasant surprise I have is something that you would only notice if you watch the games, especially recently. It is their willingness to run the ball. Now, Colorado is not just out here running the ball down teams' throats. Isaiah Augusta was 9 yards away from 100 yards rushing against Cincinnati, and he would have become the first running back or player in general to run for 100 yards in the Deion Sanders era. Like, they just don't run the ball that frequently. That being said, these past few games, they have figured out how to be more balanced. And so Isaiah Augusta, 22 carries for 91 yards against Cincinnati. And my stat that I brought up after the Kansas State loss still remains true. Colorado is undefeated, so 6-0, when they run the ball 14 or more times with a running back. They are 0-2 when they don't. So while their run game ranks, 129th in the country in rushing offense, it's not so much about like, oh, they're not getting 100 yards per game out of a running back. No, that's not what it's about. They're getting production. They're sort of threatening with it, and they're doing it in timely manners. They're picking up short first downs. They're finishing drives with it. They're running when it matters, and they're doing it effectively. And I think that's all you could ask. And last year, and even this year in the two losses, they became one-dimensional. And that's sort of what made them easy to defend, and that's what made it easier for teams to beat up on them was, hey, we can drop 8. Heck, we could probably drop 9. And they're still going to throw the ball, right? So I think Pat Shurmur's willingness to run the ball has been one of the pleasant surprises for me, because I think that was sort of one of my biggest concerns was like, are they going to run the ball, or are they going to just try to air it out 50 times a game, right? Shedeur Sanders is an amazing quarterback. I think he's the best quarterback in the country right now. Probably should be the number 1 overall pick. And if he's not, it'll be because Travis Hunter's the number 1 overall pick, in my opinion. But regardless of how good a quarterback is, it doesn't matter if it's Andrew Luck, Shedeur Sanders, like Tim Tebow or Cam Newton, whatever. You have to run the ball, right? You cannot just be like, hey, go win us these games, right? Patrick Mahomes, prime example. He threw the ball a lot in college. Texas Tech was an air raid offense, still kind of are. And they did not win games with Patrick Mahomes. Is Patrick Mahomes the best quarterback we've seen in terms of the NFL? Yes, he's the most talented quarterback that I've seen in my lifetime. But in college, they didn't run the ball that often, and they didn't do it effectively, or as effectively as they needed to. And so Patrick Mahomes' best year was like 7-5 or 7-6. Like, you have to run the ball to be effective, and I think Colorado's doing just that. My third and final thing that's a pleasant surprise is the elite secondary, right? I think me and Dalton talked about this yesterday. Colorado last year, the secondary was Travis Hunter on an island, and then it was Omarion Cooper, Travis J. It was Cormani McClain a couple of games. It was just never, like, outside of Travis, it was just not good, right? And it's not to say that those guys aren't good players. It's not to say that those guys didn't have bright moments. It's just the secondary, was not that good. The defense, especially the secondary this year, makes game-changing plays. The reason that they rank so high in turnovers forced is because the defense is making big plays, right? Preston Hodge, I think Dalton said it on yesterday's show, that Preston Hodge's interception against UCF might have been the biggest play of the season for Colorado, because Shedeur Sanders throws a rough pick first drive of the game and gives UCF the ball right in their own territory. And all of a sudden, UCF's charging down the field, and it's like, oh gosh, Colorado's going to go down. Are they going to be able to recover? And Preston Hodge picks him off. And so, very, very clutch interception there. Travis Hunter has 2 picks. Colton Hood, 2 picks. Should have been a pick 6, but I think he was running so fast that he fell. Never had that problem myself, but hey, it's not a bad problem to have. But they have those 3 guys each have 2 picks. Those are the only 3 guys with interceptions on the team. I thought DJ McKinney would have a couple more. I think he has a few pass breakups, but you know what they say about these guys who play defense. There's a reason they play defense. Not all of them can catch, right? But DJ McKinney is tied for second on the team in pass deflection. So Travis Hunter has 7, DJ has 6, Preston Hodge has 6, Nikhai Hill-Green 3, which obviously is a linebacker, Cameron Craig 3. So like these guys, this secondary, they're making plays and they're making life hard on the quarterback, because it's like you really have to pick your poison. Do you want to throw at a corner who's probably going to be the number 1 pick or a top 5 pick at worst in this upcoming NFL draft? Or do you want to throw at 2 guys who are quickly emerging as, I would say, 2 of the most underrated corners in the Big 12 and probably college football? It's a tough choice, but guess what? They're going to make you pay. And so those have been my 3 most pleasant surprises for Colorado as they've gone off to a 6-2 start. They're going bowling. I think they're going to be favored in all 4 of their remaining games. I think there's a legitimate shot that they win the Big 12 if they're able to play for it. Obviously, that depends on what happens with Iowa State and BYU, which I talked about that yesterday. So if you want to go see what Colorado needs to make it to the Big 12 championship, go check out yesterday's episode. But long story short, they need Iowa State or BYU to lose 2 games. And they need Kansas State to lose as well, because if, say, one of them, say Iowa State loses 2 games and BYU goes undefeated and Kansas State has the 1 conference loss, Colorado's not going to get in because Kansas State has that head-to-head advantage. So anyway, they have a path to the Big 12 title game, which means they have a path to the college football playoff. And I'm liking how they're looking in these final 4 games. So make sure to comment below what you think what your most pleasant surprises were on this spooky Halloween episode. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the NFL draft a little bit. Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, where do they rank? I'm going to tell you what Mel Kiper Jr. had to say. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, give me those 5 stars as we continue to grow and as Colorado continues to push down the season, or down the stretch, of the season. Mel Kiper Jr. released his top 25 big board, and then he also released a mock draft. And I'm a sucker for mock drafts. I also hate mock drafts because at the same time, I feel like sometimes people try to get too creative, and it's just like, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Like, we don't need, like, I saw one today where it was like the Raiders didn't draft a quarterback and instead took the second best offense lineman on Texas. It's like, why would they not take the best offense lineman on Texas team? Why would they take the second best offense lineman, who the first offense lineman, or the better one, went one pick later? Like, mock drafts, I think sometimes people just try to get too spicy. They try to get too outside the box. And it's like, let's just do what we think is going to happen, not where it's like, okay, I'm going to get creative here. Like, don't get creative. Let's get right. So starting with his top 25 players, Mel Kiper, he had 2 Colorado players. Obviously Travis and Shedeur. Travis ranks as his #1 overall player. Obviously a 2-way star. He's going to have to decide maybe where he plays at the NFL. It depends on the franchise and if they want him to play both ways. I imagine there's going to be some sort of like discussion where it's like, hey, you could play certain packages, but you're not going to play both ways. But obviously that's for one lucky franchise to decide. And then Shedeur right outside the top 10, number 11, but he is the highest ranked quarterback. So I thought that was interesting. So let's go over to his mock draft, because I do think that or his top 10 quarterbacks, because I think Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback, and he said the same thing. So I'm going to go look at these mock drafts right now. Not Mel Kiper's, because obviously he didn't want to put one apparently, but I'll go with the CBS Sports one, which is the one that I was criticizing a little bit. CBS Sports, this is how they have it going. So #1 pick, Cam Ward to the Carolina Panthers. #2 pick, Shedeur Sanders to the Tennessee Titans. I don't know if Nashville is a place where Coach Prime wants Shedeur to live, but Nashville is dope. I've been there a couple times. It's amazing. 3rd pick, Travis Hunter to the Patriots. And this is what he said, or this is what the CBS Sports analyst said about Shedeur and Travis, Carolina is not the only team that drafted a quarterback in 2023 now looking to make a change. In fact, C.J. Stroud in Houston is the only one holding strong. Shedeur replaces Will Levis in Nashville as the hopeful savior of the franchise. That's right. I mean, Will Levis is, I doubted him. I feel like if you're not that good in college, I don't trust you. And probably a hot take, I guess, for most of these college quarterbacks. Like, if your team's not that good and you don't have the best stats, I don't feel like it's going to translate. I feel like Patrick Mahomes may be one of the few exceptions where his team was mediocre to bad, but he ended up being great. And then Travis Hunter, he said there have been flashes of high-quality play from rookie quarterback Drake May, which is all that more impressive considering the lack of support he has in the offense. They desperately need to upgrade the offense line, but it may be a stretch to take an offense lineman over Travis Hunter, who has shown to be proficient on each side of the ball. I like both of these fits. Whether or not Shedeur or Cam Ward goes first depends on, I think, the team. I think it's all personal preference. I also think that a team like the Raiders may want to trade up for Shedeur, and a guy like Travis. It wouldn't shock me if, say a team like, I'm not really sure what team it would have to be first to take Travis first. Like maybe the Panthers don't go quarterback, right? Or maybe the Titans are like, you know what, we're not too confident in these guys, so we're going to ride with Will Levis one more year and see who comes out the next year. But I feel like Travis Hunter could go number one. I think Shedeur could go number one. And as me and Philip Dukes talked about the other day, it's like you have two players who both have a legitimate case for the number one spot. It's a great thing to have for Colorado. Let's just put it that way. So you guys comment below. Who do you think is more likely to go number one? If I had to be honest, I'd probably go Shedeur if it's a team that needs a quarterback, right? If it's a team that doesn't need a quarterback and they're willing to just take that top pick on Travis, then that would make sense. But I think most teams that don't need a quarterback would trade out of that spot to get more draft capital. So I think Shedeur Sanders has a better chance of going number one between the two. When we come back, I'm going to talk about the latest around the Big 12, predict my winners of the week, and see if it impacts the Big 12 standings. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing second overtime, which is why they've created the Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel. The energy shot made just for super fans like us, the fans who are first in the parking lot and who are last to leave. We see you. So, you know what else gives me a little bit of Locked on Buffs fuel this weekend, or Colorado Buffaloes fuel this week, is when Travis Hunter makes a spectacular catch in the back of the end zone, diving, sort of torching the defense again, as if they know where he's at. They all know where he's at, but Travis Hunter is always finding a way to be open. So, 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy, available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow. Give me 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's talk about the Big 12. Before I do my predictions, there was a little bit of a scandal that turned out to not be a scandal, but I think it was Texas Tech all of a sudden started accusing other teams of like hacking into or I don't know if it was hacking, but it was like, is the headsets and the helmets, are they encrypted? Are they not encrypted? There's been no foul play found, so I think they just look like a little bit of sore losers at the moment. But now that we've gone over that, let's talk about my predictions. So Colorado doesn't play this weekend. Unfortunately, we got to wait. But a lot of teams in the Big 12 do, and there's going to be some intriguing games that could really shape the rest of the Big 12 standings. So I'm going to go game by game, tell you who I think is going to win and why, starting with Texas Tech at Iowa State in Ames, Iowa. Iowa's 13.5-point favorites. This is not a great matchup for Texas Tech. It's going to be cold. Could be rainy. Texas Tech likes to throw the ball. Iowa State has been battle tested the past few weeks, right? They escaped UCF. They escaped West Virginia, handled Baylor, handled Houston, and I think they win this game and stay undefeated. Kansas State at Houston. Kansas State's favored by 13 now. I'm not going to pick Houston to win this game, but I do think they have a chance of covering. I just feel like Houston's going to ruin someone's season down the stretch. I don't know if it's going to be Kansas State, but they are going to ruin someone's season. Arizona at UCF. I'm going with Arizona. I don't trust UCF's quarterback situation. I don't really know what's going on there. Not that No Fifita's been that much better, but UCF's quarterback situation has been a disaster. And then it's Arizona State at Oklahoma State. Tough environment. Arizona State does get Sam Leavitt back, though, or Leavitt, excuse me. I think they win, and I think Oklahoma State continues to free fall after making it to the Big 12 title game last year, which is quite a disastrous season, I might add. Then the final game on the slate, TCU visiting Baylor. Baylor's hot right now. There's no way around it. Rivalry game, I believe this is called the Blue Bonnet something, right? I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Baylor's 4-4, TCU's 5-3. Baylor's the 3-point favorites. Baylor's looked really good as of late. They beat Oklahoma State by 10. They beat Texas Tech by 24. Whereas TCU, they beat Texas Tech by 1 point, Utah by 6. Like I just don't trust TCU. I don't. I'm sorry. I trust Baylor a little bit more. I think Baylor's found something with Sawyer Robinson. I think they found something on defense. And so those are my picks for the Week 10 slate of the Big 12 season, or excuse me, of the Big 12 games. Let me know below who you think is going to win, or if you disagree with any of them. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. It's the road to 7,000 now. We're also trying to get 5 stars on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We're going to have some really cool guests coming up, as always. And everyone be safe on Halloween. Happy Halloween to all those who are going to be out there trick-or-treating, and make sure you guys all stay safe and have a great night. I'm Kevin Borbin, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.